The ideas that gave birth to our nation are the ideas that our nation is resistant to right now, and we should talk about that all the time.
In a world where narratives are shaped by corporations and gatekeepers, independent voices matter more than ever. Badlands Media brings together citizen journalists, researchers, and independent thinkers.
The truth is triggering.
Question the narrative. Explore the facts.
It's authenticity, courage, resilience.
Search for the truth others won't.
It's not about being first or being right.
The information war is changing.
It's about being authentic.
Embrace the friction.
Embrace the friction.
Shut the f*** up.
Authentically antagonizing. Join the movement.
I'm going to say how I feel.
Follow Badlands Media.
This is about the future.
The Badlands, rather the Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily.
It really feels like the cat with the laser pointer. It's like you led the cat up to the top of the building and now you're leading it over the edge.
President Trump is rebalancing trade around the world and making things more fair for the American people.
I think that anytime the deep state can like over-capitalize in whatever situation they have, they're going to.
But the rest of it is a very well-organized and well-funded color revolution operation of the type they run all over the world again and again and again to destabilize entire society.
Echoes carried on the wind. We stepped into a moment where a nation would begin. Powder smoke and rising banners, voices ringing through the flame. We rode the currents of tomorrow, found the dawn of freedom's flame. Raise the flame of revolution, let the old world hear us roar. Freedom rides on every heartbeat, marching louder than before. From the Delaware to glory, soft disclosure fans the flame.
All right, good morning, Badlandia. Welcome to Badlands Daily. It's Tuesday. Got the one and only Gordon, Ghost of Base Patrick Henry, joining us with a look at that fresh haircut, man. Look at that, bro.
Yeah, man, just keep it. You got to keep it fresh. It's coming off the birthday of America. Rough game last night, by the way. Team USA. I mean, what a disappointing display that was.
Oh,
like,
man.
What the hell was the goalie doing, dude? The goalie totally just. I mean, talk about your all-time meltdowns on the greatest stage. And I love the World Cup. I think the World Cup's great because it's like the whole world coming together to play their sport, not our sport, right? It's their sport. And so beating them at their sport to me is like the ultimate. That's like the ultimate competition. And with that said, I don't think soccer is beating its critics, so to speak, right now in terms of the accusations and the criticisms that soccer is played by wimps and soccer is like a soft man's game. And when I look at just Europe in general, and I look at what is celebrated in soccer, and I don't care how athletic you are, I don't care how much of a physical specimen you are, watching a grown man flail around on the ground and then the replay play and he wasn't even touched, or it's like he was nudged and he's sitting there flailing around like he just broke his leg or something. I can't respect you. I just don't respect you. The one thing I did note though early in the game when we were all talking in the private chat was that when the American players would get tackled, they would just pop right back up and keep going. And that's because in our culture, we don't celebrate victimhood. We don't celebrate you're a pussy if you act like that. And we need to start calling men that again. You get actually disparaged when you call a man a wuss now. It's really strange. But in Europe, they think that that's great. They glorify that behavior. And that's because they're domesticated. And that's why they're in the situation they are right now. That's why they're losing their countries right now. They're losing their sovereignty, and we have to completely erase that from our culture and reverse the pussification. And that's why I think when we do that, soccer is just not going to be the thing that everyone says it's going to be. Like it'll become more popular. I have no doubt that it will, but it's never going to become like the thing in America because we don't glorify that kind of behavior. And unfortunately, that's the gamesmanship of the game. You have to act like a wuss in order to get like the free penalty kick that's going to win you the game. And so, hockey, football, even basketball, Chris
basketball's pathetic.
Yeah, Chris Paul calls basketball like reality television, like the gay man sport. Like it's like gay Hollywood stuff, and he's right. That's like what the NBA is now. However, if you compare the way that American kids play basketball and the way European kids play basketball, it is night and day. Like American kids play basketball, they throw elbows, they're knocking each other over, and European players, it's like, they're doing ballet out there, with the ball in their hand. It's pathetic, man. And so we just have to call it out. We love our European friends who come to GART, but they would also acknowledge that their culture has been completely emasculated, and we cannot allow our culture to become that way.
So soccer is a little more physical than you're making it out to be. What you're talking about, though, you're spot on. And that is the objectivity that is afforded to fouls and penalties and decisions, whether or not it's just a foul, whether it's going to be a yellow card, whatever the case may be. And they essentially become actors in trying to make that case. There's a lot of physicality in soccer, people don't understand. So I had Cam down here watching that game, and, I played soccer when I was a little kid.
Me too. I grew up like till I was like 15. I played. So, I mean, I played it for sure.
Yeah. So like when you're taking that ball from the goalkeeper, from the keeper, that long, drawn out goal kick, hitting that thing in your head, man, there's more concussions in soccer than there is in football because of a lot of that contact. No. You can look at, I'm almost positive, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but there are more concussions per capita in soccer than there are in football. Maybe not nowadays, but because nowadays, like, it's insane how freaking crazy football has gotten. But in terms of their physicality, not their actual physical, makeup, not so much the hitting. But I'm with you, man, and that is a problem. But Team USA, they gave it a good run. Now, more than 80% of soccer fans can go back to never caring about soccer. I'm not a big soccer fan. I love the World Cup. Yeah. I think it's one of the best events out there. I'd rather watch the World Cup, every single game of the World Cup, than watch a single winter or summer Olympic event, except maybe winter hockey. I'll watch winter hockey, and I'll watch summer baseball too. I like summer baseball. Yeah. But yeah, so there we go. Team USA lost to Belgium 4-1.
Yeah. And I mean, the final score finally reflected the way the game was going, because Belgium, it looked like a professional team playing a high school team. I mean, Team USA, I was listening to watching the European broadcast in the car on the way home from the beach, and the word they kept using was shell shocked. They're like, the Team USA from the moment the game started, they're like, wow, Team USA just looks shell shocked. That was a good description. Yeah. The one political thing that I will point to on this is Trump calling his friend, what's his name, the president of FIFA,
whatever his name is.
Yeah, and getting the red card reversed. That was awesome. Everyone's whining about that.
Well, that was awesome. FIFA doesn't have any say in that. That goes to an independent body, and so that was what he said to him: is I have no say in it. But everybody jumped on that thing that you could have just looked at the Balogun foul and been like, that's not a red card. It was silly. It was silly, stupid foul. And the ref, and there was, I do think there was some bias in that in the game last night from the officiating. However, that didn't make up for America. America just wanted to play. America played wussification. They didn't show up, man. They
didn't show up.
They just. Me and Cam were talking about it. All they were doing the whole match, just passing around, build up, and then an errant pass, and the whole play was broken down. Towards the end, they started throwing balls at the net, throwing balls in, and plays were developing. They were getting shots where rebounds. Rebounds were resulting in follow-up shots. Like, that's what they should have been doing the whole game, and they weren't. And they were playing like they had a 2-0 lead rather than a 2-1 deficit, a 1-goal deficit, and a 2-goal deficit. It's absolute shit. But
Two points. Tillman is clutch. That guy, the number 17. Decode that all you want. He made the 3 goals like throughout the World Cup, where it's like those shots were those penalty shots. Yeah, that kid is clutch. Like that kid, I will claim that kid as an American. He's clutch. And then that like 7-foot Viking monster Havler or whatever from Holland. Yeah, is he Holland? Is it on Holland or
no? He's on Norway. He's on Norway.
That's right. Yeah, I mean that the fact that he's going viral for being just a total monster and a complete meathead. It's like Europe. That's your like. This is the way. Like take after that guy, because that guy reminds me of like all my friends that I had growing up and in college and everything, who were all athletes who were just complete meatheads. And I love those guys. Those are my people, is the guys who act like that. So Europe, this is the way. Be more like him.
I saw a story this morning. I didn't have it in for daily, but that he eats beef organs and raw milk, and he's going viral for his diet. And Cam and I watched the Norway the Norway game. What was it? 2 nights ago, and or 2 days ago. It was during the day. And I just love I have a little bit of Norwegian in me, so I'm Team Norway from here on out, since Team USA's out and Mexico's out. I was actually going to root for Mexico if Team USA lost, but they lost first. But so Norway, like at the end of the game, they do this awesome thing. They bring out a drum and they just bang on the drum, and they're like Vikings, man, like they're rowing, boom. It's awesome to watch that. That alpha male, like masculinity coming out and glorifying.
We need more of that. We need like a lot more of that in the world.
Absolutely, man. Like I hadn't felt that like fired up since the Marine Corps, man. Like I was Viking rowing. There you go, Sammy. Yeah. All right. So let's get into the show. We're not going to sit here and talk about the wussification of European soccer for the entire show. We are going to talk about some of our sponsors, though, guys. The Scales Freedom Collection is where the open ocean meets the red, white, and blue seas that we call home. Inspired by salt air, tight lines, and the rhythm of the tide and waves, this collection channels the spirit of freedom through the lens of a waterman's lifestyle. From long sleeve performance shirts built for the elements to buttersoft tees and hats adorned with bold ocean-inspired Americana prints, every piece is designed to keep you cool, protected, and connected to the water that sets us free. From weed lines to tree lines, we love our freedom. Shop now at badlandsmedia.tv/scales and enter promo code BADLANDS at checkout for 20% off your next purchase. 10 out of 10 recommend Scales. Their shirts are fantastic. Absolutely love them. And then this show is brought to you by Native Path grass-fed collagen for better bones, joints, skin, hair, and nails. Dr. Chad Walding is a doctor of physical therapy who spent years trying to find a clean collagen for his patients and could not do so. So he made one. Native Path grass-fed collagen is the result with over 8,000 five-star reviews. It's clearly working. After 30, our bodies produce 1% to 2% less collagen every single year. That's the protein that keeps our bones dense, our joints cushioned, and our skin firm. By 60, most people have lost half of their collagen, and it's nearly impossible to get it back through diet alone because it lives in the parts of the animal that we don't eat, the bones, cartilage, and tendons. Native Path grass-fed collagen is a clean, grass-fed type 1 and type 3 collagen that dissolves completely in coffee or water. No taste, no clumping. Thousands of customers report less joint pain, stronger nails, younger-looking skin, better sleep, and even improved bone density scans. For our special offer and free shipping, head to getnativepath.com/badlands. That's GETNATIVEPATH.com/badlands. Try it risk-free with a 365-day money-back guarantee. And for some reason, I'm losing my voice. Jackie and I were actually talking last night because like I looked at my fingernails and I was like, holy crap, I got to cut them. Because after the Native Path, like the first 2 or 3 days after I cut my nails, it's like very slow. And then just all of a sudden my nails like grow like insane. And I'm like, holy crap, I got to cut my fingernails. And they're 10 times stronger, man. Like you cutting them and it's just like, grr, grr. And it's all because of the collagen, baby. So if you want stronger nails for the ladies out there, Get you some of that collagen. All right.
Yeah, hell yeah. College is great.
Okay, let's jump into the news. Like I said, it's going to be mainly a geopolitical day. It's also going to be a short show. I'm going to try to get the Tyler Robinson, Charlie Kirk preliminary hearings live streamed this afternoon, because I think there's going to be a lot of good stuff coming out in that today. So maybe a little bit shorter of a show, but let's jump into it. Trump fan or not, economists say Trump accounts are a good deal. So yesterday from the Oval Office, President Trump rang the New York Stock Exchange bell from the Oval, announcing these Trump accounts. And these, I mean, this looks like it could be a pretty good thing, man. Trump accounts officially launched, drawing positive feedback from economists who say it will provide a significant financial benefit for American children nationwide. The accounts come as part of Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill and their tax-deferred investments for newborn American citizens, with more than 6 million people having signed up for the accounts already. It includes an automatic seed deposit of $1,000 from Treasury, invested into low-cost diversified U.S. stock index funds, such as mutual funds or ETF, exchange-traded funds. Parents or employers can make up to $5,000 contributions annually. Employers will be able to contribute up to $2,500 tax-free as part of that $5,000 cap. The accounts could grow to $5,000 if you just leave it alone with the initial $1,000 seeding, or if you add an additional $5,000 each year, it could grow to $271,000 by age 18. A bunch of private companies have gotten on board with making contributions. Dell Computers' Michael Dell pledged $6.25 billion for the Trump accounts. SpaceX said that they would donate shares to more than 2 million Trump accounts, and Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley are matching the government's initial deposit, and other philanthropist groups have gotten on board. Here was an interesting note from President Trump yesterday. Trump indicated that the accounts could eventually include Bitcoin, saying, quote, well, something could happen, in the Oval Office where he rang the New York Stock Exchange bell. And then lastly, it notes here that withdrawals from the Trump accounts before the retirement age of 59 and a half are subject to income taxes and a 10% penalty, with exceptions for qualified purposes such as higher education. So if you want to use it for schooling, get rid of the federal government dependency on grants, and loans, student loans, you will be able to withdraw that penalty and tax-free. So I'm here for him, man. I think this is a pretty good idea. It's a new idea, right? It's a breath of fresh air to get this thing rolling. And
my wife and I have started Trump accounts for all of our kids, and my wife is learning about it more and more, and she loves it. She thinks it's great. Competition is good. This is like getting to back to the soccer thing. It's like the thing that interests me about the World Cup, same with you, is that is the physical competition of the world. And so I want to win that because I love competition. And the Trump account is another example. Like, that presents a new option in the marketplace, which is going to force the fat cats and the people who want to make money and want to create opportunity for themselves to offer new forms of investment, new investment vehicles that are more dynamic, so they can attract customers. It's Trump kicking the financial markets in the ass and being like, get up and do something, or I'm just going to kick you until you're a bloody pulp, proverbially, figuratively speaking.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Let me play this clip here from News Nation talking about them.
The Trump accounts is also a call to action by President Trump to philanthropists, to corporations and companies across America. We've already seen over 50 corporations, major companies, from Intel to Chipotle to other companies that have, to answer that call to action, are going to contribute to the Trump accounts of their employees. You're seeing philanthropists like Michael and Susan Dell, who are in the Oval Office today, commit to investing billions of dollars, over $6 billion to Trump accounts. You've seen other billionaires like Ray Dalio and Brad Gerstner and others. So this is it's not just, this is a call to action at a societal level to get companies, to get entrepreneurs, to get philanthropists on board and invest in America's children in a way that makes the most sense.
So there we have it. It looks like maybe there's a potential that this is like something that could be supplemental to Social Security as well. When they say that it's tax-free, treated like an IRA, it looks like this is something somebody could probably contribute maybe $1,000 a year or something like that, 10, $50 a month or something like that. And then by the time they're ready to retire at 60, 64, I think they're going to try and move the retirement. What is the retirement age now? Like 65, 66?
I have no idea. I mean, I thought I've seen stories in the past couple of years about them raising it, but I think it all has to do when Social Security gets paid out. I think that's when like the official retirement age is like when Social Security gets paid out. And I want to say traditionally it's 65, but I want to say they've been trying to raise it in the past couple of years because Social Security is of course a pyramid scheme, and it's just a giant Ponzi scheme where they're stealing everybody's money.
Chad's saying 67, but I think Smay is probably.
I think it's 67 now. Yeah.
Smay said 85, and that's probably more accurate. Work until you're dead.
Yeah, right. I mean, so what a joke.
Because you retire at 67, but then you have to go get another job because you can't afford to live on the Social Security that you paid into your whole entire life, which has drained you for your entire life just to give you like $1,000 a month. And they're like, here, go live off of this. It's like, no, I can't. So yeah, this is an alternative to that. I remember one of the things that, I was young and I didn't pay too much attention to this kind of stuff, but one of the big things that everybody was debating when Bush was running his first time was privatizing Social Security. And I was like, that's actually a really good idea. Like, why aren't we taking this Social Security instead of just letting it sit in the Treasury or, wherever it sits? Why aren't we putting these benefits into, pretty low risk mutual funds and ETFs that, where'd my camera go? These funds that will grow over time. Why are we not doing that? And instead, we're borrowing from Social Security. That's probably why, because they wanted to borrow from it. And I don't know, that never made sense to me that we don't privatize that. So now Trump has put something out here that could potentially change how that stuff works in the future. Not saying it's going to be a replacement for Social Security, but I'm all for it.
Well, and that's what makes it kind of a scam is that they invest Social Security in treasuries, and then when they print more money, the treasuries become like that's how they cover up their crimes is the treasuries getting countries and funds like Social Security to buy U.S. treasuries. That's how they've been able to put off inflation for another day. They print a bunch of money and then they put off inflation. The reason that you don't see massive inflation immediately is because they sell the treasuries. Now the chickens are coming home to roost because countries are like, I'm not holding this debt. I'm not holding these treasuries. Like this is nonsense. They're getting out. BRICS is happening. Bitcoin's happening. Gold and silver are happening. And that's part of the reason that you're seeing a lot of this inflation happening. Did you see Trump calling out all the hedge funds?
No.
Here, this is relevant. So let me play this real quick. This is great.
While you're playing that, Honey in the chat says, where'd it go? 67 for full payout, 62 for like 70% payout. So kind of a roundabout number there. But if you choose the 62 option, why can't you choose that early on in life and be like, I'm only going to pay 70% into it. If you're only going to give me 70%, I'm only going to pay 70%.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's a scam. I mean, the way it's set up is a scam.
It's all a scam.
All right. Listen to what Trump says here. This is fantastic.
Hey, David, Goldman Sachs, Blackstone, BlackRock, they're all here. And think of it, I'm making them all geniuses. Every one of them is a genius. Is anybody doing poorly? I guess you have a couple of guys that went short. Those poor bastards, I mean, they're in big trouble. They're being wiped out, the short guys. I never like short guys because they're betting against the country. So that's okay. But earlier this morning, many of you joined me in the Oval Office for the ringing.
I love Trump saying that. I love him. I love him calling out the shorts. And for those who don't know what that means, it's the people who in the stock market, you can literally the same way you can invest in either an individual company or an index. And if it goes up, the stock price goes up, you make money. You can do the complete opposite. You can bet that it's going to go down. And the more people do that, the more it pushes the price down. So not only do you have the issue of people selling their stock out of fear that the price is going to go down, you actually have like institutional investors and billionaires and stuff artificially pushing the price down by shorting it, what's called shorting it, which should be completely illegal. Trump's talking about how much he hates shorts. And I agree. I think shorting should be illegal. I don't understand why it's allowed. It's basically saying, hey, I'm going to use my money to artificially push your stock price down. And that's how they manipulate the markets. That's how they get the price of silver to crash. That's how they get the stock market to crash. That's how they crash individual stocks and Bitcoin and all of it. So I love him calling all those funds out and saying, if you're not making money right now, you're an idiot.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
Well, and puts, that's their formal term is puts, right? It's called shorting a stock, but it's options and puts.
The options and puts. Yes, correct. Yeah.
And that was the whole premise behind the GameStop movement is, what was his name? Roaring Kitty.
Yes.
Roaring Kitty.
Roaring Kitty.
These incredible shorts on GameStop, keeping GameStop down. AMC as well ended up getting into that. But the crazy part is they play this game with us all the time. These commercial investors, what do they call them? Like the market makers.
Institutional investors,
market makers. They play this game with us, the people, all the time. And they prey off of the people all the time by doing this kind of thing, shorting stocks so that they stay suppressed. When that whole Roaring Kitty thing took off, that was the first time that there was like a populist movement, revolt outside of, there was the Wall Street, what did they call it? Occupy Wall Street, right? There was the Occupy Wall Street movement in, kind of after the Tea Party, I believe.
Yep.
This was the first time that we actually saw the money being put in action and millionaires made overnight with this GameStop thing. And then what did we see? I don't know if you remember this, but this is when Robinhood came to like widespread popularity. And what did Robinhood do? They stopped you.
Yes, they bent the knee
to sell the stock.
They bent the knee. Yep. And that was one of the great scandals in financial history was when Robinhood did that. And the reason, of course, is that if you short a stock, you short anything, potentially you could lose infinite money. Whereas if you buy a stock and it goes to zero, you just lose whatever money you put into the stock. Yes. You could put $1,000 into like shorting, go to sleep and wake up the next morning and owe $1 million because the stock like shoots up overnight. They have some big news or whatever. And there are stories of that happening, of somebody in their TD Ameritrade account shorting something and then waking up the next day and owing hundreds of thousands of dollars because of, they were idiots and they shorted something that then went the other way. And that is why they freaked out when the GameStop thing spiked, is because they all were going to lose. I mean, who knows how much money they were going to lose. And they couldn't close their positions because they didn't want to have to collect. So again, it's all a scam, man. But this is how the casino is set up to screw over the common man.
Yep. And my dogs are going nuts for some reason. So we'll move on to the next story. All right. So let's jump into this story here from ABC News. Judge rules alleged Jan 6 pipe bomber not covered by Trump's blanket pardons. Now, again, I don't have a problem with this story. I don't think that Trump intended for him to be covered, but the way that the judge ruled on this is a little bit concerning. U.S. District Judge Amir Ali rejected arguments that Brian Cole Jr. should be covered by President Trump's pardons on the basis that his actions were allegedly related to Congress's convening of the joint session the next day. The pardon is expressly limited. This is a quote from his ruling. The pardon is expressly limited to people who had been convicted of offenses related to those events, Ali wrote. Cole had not been convicted of the conduct at issue when the president issued the pardon. Indeed, he was not charged until many months after the president's proclamation. So here's the thing. So first and foremost, this means that any J6er, anybody that's charged now with a J6 crime, might not be subject to the pardons because they had not yet been convicted, and that's what the pardons allegedly said. The other thing is this kind of there's some scrutiny here that can be drawn against preemptive pardons and the concept of preemptive pardons. If is a preemptive pardon legal? Can you use a preemptive pardon against crimes that you do not yet know somebody had committed? You do not know the extent of them, the damages from them, et cetera, et cetera. Brian Cole Jr., I mean, Trump's weren't explicitly preemptive pardons, but he preempted all the J6ers, which you can make the argument that, J6ers are a blanket term, right? It could be anybody that was involved directly in that event. So if Brian Cole Jr. was not pardoned for J6 offenses, like, how is this going to apply not just to future J6ers, but also to Biden's preemptive pardons? I don't know if there's something there or not, but I think Brian Cole is a patsy through and through. There's nothing that I've read all the charging documents. I've read all the documents in this case, from the initial charges. There's no doubt in my mind that this guy is just an autistic kid that was living in a basement that was a patsy to take the fall on this. But yeah, I'll leave that there.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, my position is pretty clear that I think it was Israel, but that's its own little debate. So,
yeah, I mean, I've seen the Israel connection. I've seen Ukraine. I think it's just deep state actors that wanted to stop any contestation of the election in the J6 in the.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I got my wires crossed here. I thought we were talking about I thought we were talking about the stolen 2020 election.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, the pipe bomber specifically.
Okay. Yeah. The stolen 2020 election, my opinion is that it was deep state, of course, but I think that the geopolitical actor was Israel. That's my opinion. But anyway, I digress.
Gotcha. All right, let's jump into this story here from Just the News as well. Democrats begin pulling support for Plattner after sexual assault allegations. A couple of prominent Democrats pulled their support for the Maine Senate candidate after a woman he formerly dated accused him of sexually assaulting her in 2021. This prompted him to announce he was taking time to, quote unquote, reflect on his candidacy, although he did not formally suspend his campaign and has denied the allegations against him. Representative Ro Khanna and, ironically, Senator Ruben Gallego withdrew their endorsements, with Khanna urging the candidate to drop out of the race. 41-year-old Jenny Rasicot maintained an intermittent relationship with Plattner and said that he arrived at her home one evening in 2021 intoxicated, where he allegedly forced her to have sex with him. Plattner's campaign has also been challenged by reports of toxic behavior towards ex-girlfriends and a history of sexually explicit text messages sent to women early on in his marriage. He defeated Governor Janet Mills for the nomination, but can still drop out and be replaced by another candidate if he does so by July 13th. By the way, a couple clips on this, because you've got obviously the darling child of the right now that's a Democrat, John Fetterman, coming out and talking about it.
So regardless, now when the entire Democratic Party in Maine has called him to leave, and now also, as far as I know, whether it's Schumer, Gillibrand, and other leadership in the DS and other people have all called him, had to go. He's a dead man walking. I don't know why he's trying to pretend that he's not done too. Even those Pod Save America people that pushed that dirtbag, and they dismissed those things in the New York Times article. Maybe they ought to apologize to the women that clearly they didn't believe or they dismissed that. I know Democrats that have, back to back endorsed and got all in on Swalwell and were on the Plattner train as well too. So maybe stop, getting on bed with absolute dirtbags, someone like Plattner.
Fetterman's a great character. He's a fantastic television character. I don't know if you have anything else.
I do have one more clip on this, and this is kind of the counter to Fetterman's position, and it's of course Cory Booker coming out here and saying, well, just kind of we got to win, so if that's the best we got, then that's the best we got.
And I think the people of Maine are going to give a lot of examination to this going through in this election. For me, I certainly hope we pick up a seat here. For me and people of the state of New Jersey, dear God, we need to get the Senate back so we can start checking this out of control president. And that's why, again, I'm going to be doing everything I can all over my state of New Jersey and everywhere I can to help candidates across this country to get to that end, which is Democrats regaining control of the House and the Senate so we can check and balance a president that's chaotic, cruel, and corrupt.
So whatever means necessary, even if it means putting a guy that's formerly or formally accused, I don't think he's formally accused, but accused of sexual allegations, not just from an ex-girlfriend, from a ton of other girls. And ironically, being condemned by a guy that's also facing ethics investigations, and that is Senator Ruben Gallego. So just keep piling it on, guys. Keep piling it on. Like you talked about at GART, Ghost, you know, these people have funds set up specifically to cover their sexual deviances and misconduct, and it's absolutely disgusting.
Isn't it crazy that like a few days after that, I had no idea. I was not tracking that story at all. I just knew that it was a thing. They like unanimously voted to or almost unanimously voted to like release that list. I mean, who knows if that's actually going to happen? That could be an op. I think Nancy Mace like voted present, something like that. But excuse me. But yeah, the like this Plattner guy, I haven't looked into him. I mean, I'm familiar with like the general gist of the story. This kind of goes to what Chris Paul would talk about at GART. He's talked about it many times before about we kind of have to get past this whole purity test for our politicians. We just have to, and everyone just individually has to just come to peace with their past and understand that like all of your past behavior might become like accessible online. Like everyone may be able to learn everything you've ever done. And just coming to terms with that and just trying to behave in a more godly manner, a more moral manner as a result. But regardless of whether or not this guy is actually what they accuse him of being, I mean, I'm a little skeptical because I think I think most of Congress probably is this way. I think most of Congress probably has compromising information about them, skeletons in the closet that are leverage that's used to control them. And the fact that those people aren't exposed and aren't talked about ad nauseum and aren't like spotlighted, but this guy is, I mean, that makes me a little skeptical about the whole thing. There's obviously like correlation between what they're doing to this guy and what they try to do to Trump and many others. I'm not going to like stick my neck out for this guy because I have no idea what he is or who he is. But the fact that he's standing up and challenging the establishment, and then they come out and they, you know, have people coming out and accusing him of being a rapist and all this other stuff, that's just like the playbook they use. So I don't need this guy to be a good guy. I don't need him to be a bad guy. The fact that he exists and the fact that this narrative is unfolding where the Democrat Party is eating itself is fantastic. I want to see the same thing happening with the Republican Party. I think it will. I think it's starting to happen because these political parties are the problem. And that's where the rubber meets the road. I think, unfortunately, a lot of people came to this conclusion like 9 years ago. We kind of realized that the Republican Party was the problem. And then for whatever reason, people just started cheerleading for the Republicans again because they thought that the Republican Party had been taken over by Trump and Trump was now in charge of the Republican Party. He's not. I mean, look at what they're doing right now. Look how they're not supporting him. Look how they're flying in the face of MAGA and the MAGA agenda. The Republican Party is the gatekeeper that will prevent the golden age from coming. And until we utterly destroy it, in every sense of the word. And I don't even think it needs to be replaced. I think we should go away from political parties. We will never be free. We will never have a golden age as long as there is a GOP-E or a Republican establishment. I would say Republican Party at all. But we talked about this on a panel with GART, and I recognize that at the local level, the Republican Party apparatus can be useful because you can weaponize it against the establishment. But if you show up to a Republican event and you say, how can I help? They're going to take you and they're going to plug you right into their machine and you become their cog. You have to show up educated, knowing the game, knowing the rules, and then call them out and say, no, we're not doing it that way. We're doing it this way because this is the way you're supposed to do it. And you got to be ready for a fight. And that's like what Mo Benson from Benson Honey Farms has been doing. And she's a badass. And I would encourage people to go listen to her story, go learn about what she's done. and others like her, because it can be done. It just requires, you got to be a badass. And you got to be a fighter.
Yeah, the local government panel at GART Deadwood was a fantastic panel with a lot of anecdotes from members of the audience telling their stories about this.
We also had on that not that panel. It was it was like the normie panel that we did. We had a woman stand up who was a psychologist from, I think, LA, and she was talking about how all of her patients, who were all Democrats, were coming in and talking about election integrity and how the elections were all fake, and these were all like somewhat apolitical, like normies who were like leftists basically, and Democrats. Because the context of the conversation was, I was saying that I felt like in real life, my conversations with normies were like advancing much deeper than the conversations I'm seeing and having online with quote unquote the truth community, because the truth community is very like tunnel vision on what they think is going to happen and what should happen. And they're not opening, the minds are not open to like all the possibilities. That was, I saw the look on Chris Paul's and John's face. We were all on stage together, and John was like, whoa, okay. So we have quote unquote normies who are Democrats in LA who are now questioning election integrity because of everything that's happened. And yeah, it's interesting.
Well, you hold that thought for a clip here in a little bit, but to your point about Plattner that you were making earlier, I don't know much about Plattner. I know about the tattoo and the Nazi tattoo. I know he was a Marine. He was an enlisted Marine. He was an 03. He's got, some skeletons, I'm sure, in the closet, like you said. I'm with you on candidates need to, you need to understand that everything's going to be put out there, and we as the public need to overlook a lot of these things. There are certain things, felonies, like,
of course,
like sexual assault and stuff. I'm not overlooking that, but like something you said on X like 20 years ago, I could give 0 F's about.
Yeah.
What you said on X.
The Billy Bush tapes, right?
Yeah.
The entire Republican establishment told Trump to step aside and let Mike Pence be the candidate so we could beat Hillary Clinton. And Steve Bannon, allegedly, the story goes, was the only person in the room who said, no, stand in the breach, take the heat. The American people will have your back. And he was right. Every other person in the room was wrong.
But on that note, just look at the sign the people are holding behind Plattner here. A senator money can't buy. Now, again, I don't know anything about that. And if he actually is, just grassroots and through, who knows? He could be. And that's why you're seeing the establishment just absolutely railing on this guy. I don't know. I know that the woman running against him, Janet Mills, ran out of money, which she was, I think, the former governor. She ran out of money. And that was very interesting to me as well. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this story. We'll get into some some election stuff now. Just the news. GOP Rep Stutzman warns about a Democrat takeover of House investigations and impeachments. That's not my takeaway from this. I told you guys yesterday, me and Zach, we covered the Georgia poll and the Texas poll. The Georgia poll showing that Democrats are leading in the governor race and in the Senate race, Ossoff versus Collins, and Lance Bottoms versus what's the guy's name? Jackson in Georgia. I showed you that. And then I showed you them saying that in Texas, all the Republicans are leading except Ken Paxton, who's in a dead tie with Alarico. And they're starting to seed the narrative for the quote unquote blue wave. Okay. And this article here, I'm not saying just the news is doing it. I'm saying the polls that they're going to talk about here are starting to seed that narrative. Whether or not it's true, I don't know, because polls are utterly fake, in my opinion. There have been 20 midterm elections since 1946, and 18 of them, the president's party lost seats in the House, says Marlon Stutzman, representative from Indiana. And he's concerned that if the Democrats get control of the House, we're going to be right back to investigations and impeachments. So we got that part out of the way. A Scripps poll shows that voters polled from June 25th through July 2nd, 39% of voters plan to support Republican. Whoa, that was a lot of noise. You good? What happened? Oh, you're muted now. Okay. 39% of American voters plan to support Republicans. 48% look to support Democrats. YouGov and The Economist, 35% Republicans, 37% Democrats. That's the best poll for Republicans out there. The Cato Institute in the Morning Consult, 39% Republican, 45% Democrat. Quinnipiac, 49% want to see Democrats take control of the House. 42% prefer Republicans. Real Clear Polling, 48.5% said they'd vote Democrat. 42.9% say they'd vote Republican. 39% said they'd be more likely to vote for Democratic Socialists. So that's even going further to the side there. And then we get this, the most tired of the establishment politician talking points right here. Stutzman encouraged Republicans to, quote unquote, fight, to fix problems, to communicate with the American people about solving issues, and, quote, not let these Marxists and communists take over the Democrat Party and ultimately take over the country. So boring. So that's the narrative right there. These are the types of polls that they'll lean back on when the 2026 midterms swings wildly, not just in the Senate or in the House, but also in the Senate, swings wildly for Democrats. And we go into 2 years of investigate, impeach, investigate, impeach, investigate, impeach. Yeah. You good there?
Yep. I'm good.
Okay. All right, let's keep moving. I want to play. You were talking about the California thing. Check this out. This was Gavin Newsom yesterday.
Let me speak directly to anyone considering helping President Trump interfere with our election or our count. If you violate California's laws, if you interfere with our voters, tamper with our ballots, or meddle in our election, you will be prosecuted. Doesn't matter who gave the order. That's why I'm moving forward with new legislation that would make it a felony to seize ballots before the vote has been certified by state and county officials. We will be the wall he cannot get past, because we believe that once an election is decided, the winner governs for everyone. That's the architecture of American liberty. Donald Trump, he doesn't believe in that architecture.
So there you have it. I don't even know if that's legal for him to do that. If there's federal elections on the ballot, I don't know that you have that authority to pass a law saying that it's a felony to seize ballots. If it's a court order, it's a court order, right? If you have a warrant, you try and tell the federal government. And again, I'm not for this, but that's the way it is right now. Try and tell the federal government, no, you can't touch this. Now, Ghost, how do you think that's going to make voters feel when you have, people like you were saying that are already questioning their elections as liberals in California? How is that going to make them feel?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, your story is only as good as your villain, and I think Newsom is a great character. I think these characters are necessary. You have to have the bad guys on stage. If you only have good guys on stage, then the story is boring and nobody pays attention. You have to have bad guys on stage. And so I love seeing them just do what they do best, which is just look like bad guys. And by the way, I would love to see a conflict between the federal government and the state governments over these issues. I think these fights should be happening. I want to see the state governments in total rebellion against the federal government. I don't care who controls the state government. I don't care if it's the deep state controlling it or earnest patriots controlling it. I want to see conflict between the federal government and the state governments, because that is what will restore the republic. That was what was taken from us post-Civil War, was the fact that the state governments were always over the federal government, and then that was inverted. And then they created the income tax. They created the Federal Reserve. They created the entire tax distribution system where the federal government gives the state government's tax revenue, and then is able to say, hey, we're going to withhold this money this year if you don't do X, Y, Z. If you don't pass these laws, like raising the drinking age to 21, we're not going to give you money to maintain the highway system, the interstate system, like we've been doing. That's how the federal government coerces the state governments to get in line. It should be the opposite. The state government should collect the taxes, whatever taxes we agree should be collected, and then given to the federal government. And that way a state government can withhold money if they feel like the federal government is not doing its job and not pulling its weight. Let the federal government fight that out. Let the federal government go, chase down the 50 different treasuries, the 50 different states to get their money. That's what they should be doing. They should be spending their time doing that, securing the border, and basically that's it. Every other element of the federal government, I think, is a waste of money, including to a large degree law enforcement, because most law enforcement is actually done at the state level with the FBI simply riding shotgun, riding in the back seat.
It's I brought this up during the very last panel at GART, the American founding. Where in the Constitution is Congress afforded any law enforcement powers?
None. Zero. It's
None.
actually supposed to be entirely the executive branch, to whatever extent there are laws, federal laws. And I don't think that it was ever really intended for there to be a huge penal code at the federal level. It was just the idea that the Constitution would be enforced by the federal government to make sure the states were all playing by the rules.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and hit a sponsor here real quick before we move on. We'll get into geopolitics after this. Like I said, today will be a little bit of a shorter show, but let's go ahead and hit a sponsor here and talk a little bit about crypto, because we hear a lot about it, but here's the part that most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control your money. And after the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of a bank holding your money, delaying transfers, or limiting access, you are in control. And if you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you felt that problem. Now, fast forward to today, and everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels kind of complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all the complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want, whether it's Bitcoin, dollar-backed stablecoins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. There's no complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card, debit card, or bank card and be up and running in just minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like us directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code, click the link in the description, and download Rumble Wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and boom, you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. And there we go. Thank you to Rumble Wallet. Now, before I hand over the reins completely to you, well, in geopolitics, I do have a really a not good story that I just want to go over briefly. There is a appellate court decision now in the USEIP case, the Ashep, Holly Kaysen, or not Holly, Kaysen and Sean Smith. In that case, I covered it for Gateway. We covered it here on Badlands, and the appellate court has remanded it back for a retrial, and it is absolutely mind-blowing how they came to that conclusion. But ultimately, they ruled that the judge erred in saying that USEIP was not a formal entity, because it was a grassroots. She had dismissed them. And so they erred in that and said USEIP is a party to this case and therefore has to be treated as such. And so they have to go through the whole process again. And
man, you're gonna make me mad now. You're gonna make me start throwing stuff. Anyone who has any connection with the Trump administration, you need to be on this. Like, President Trump needs to address this situation right here, because the NAACP and all the other people who were involved in this committed fraud against.
Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
Well, committed fraud against Ash and them when they brought in these people and they tried to say that they tried to make up stories, and they brought in witnesses that were proven to be completely fabricated. They should have ended the case right there in that moment, and the judge should have said, "Bailiff, grab those lawyers right here, and we're going to put them in a cell, and we're going to investigate them for what they've done here." That's what should have happened. These people should be prosecuted for engaging in crimes. Why is that not happening? The fact that this is going back for a retrial is a crime in and of itself. And I think this whole thing is suspect. The whole thing should be investigated. And if you want grassroots people getting involved at the election integrity stuff at the grassroots level, like Ash has done, who, in my opinion, between you and her, are the two leading experts in the country on this issue, you better come to bat for us, and you better come to bat for them when these assholes come after them, because this is big money coming after somebody like Ash, who is only trying to do the right thing and restore the integrity of our election system, which a lot of people have already given up on. So, you know what? There's no hope. The elections are all fake and gay. So if you want confidence restored in the elections, you got to step in here and you need to investigate these people, because they have committed crimes here. This is a crime scene. And we need an actual investigation by real investigators, whether it's state level, federal, whatever. Because the whoever is involved, NAACP, I forget who all the parties are, but there's a lot of NGOs that are involved in this, and they have engaged in fraud. So where are the criminal investigations against these people? This is absurd that Ash has to go back and do this after paying for all this, doing it all pro se, and now she has to do it again. Man, I have a lot of choice words to say right now. I'm going to hold my tongue because let's see what happens. But I also don't want to get us thrown off of YouTube or, whatever. People are going to bug out if I start swearing. So I'm going to hold my tongue.
So here's the thing: is the DOJ has, I believe, a friend of the court and an amicus brief, I believe, on behalf of the plaintiffs in this case because it was under the Biden administration. So I don't know. The DOJ needs to rescind that and withdraw that. Also, what Ghost is referring to there, the only witness in this entire case, the only witness got up on the stand and said she had no idea who USEIP was and that the lawyers told her that that was the organization that canvassed her after the 2020 election. The lawyers told her that's the person that did it, and she testified that that was the person that did it. The entire thing was a sham. The entire thing
completely made up. They just made it up. They made it up.
The fact that the appellate court did not look at the case itself and instead is making them go back and do this retrial. Look, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know what everybody in this case is going to do, but I would love to see go back in there, whoop their ass again, and this time go all the way through. And, as far as you got to go with this, because this is egregious weaponization of NGOs, and there's, civil rights issues about, being able to file civil rights issues are in the public interest. And so it's more difficult to file counterclaims and countersue. Screw all that. This is egregious what they did to these people.
Egregious. And I'll be the first to tell you that I've met a lot of judges, and I've in my personal experience, despite the fact that it took years and years to resolve, all the judges, the 3 judges that were involved in my brother's murder case, were fantastic. They were all great. They weren't all like right wing. One of them was left wing, but he ended up doing the right thing. And I think they all followed the letter of the law, and they were right down the middle in terms of calling balls and strikes. So I can attest that there are really good judges out there. They don't all align politically with us, but they can still be good, honorable men. With that said, I think this appellate court should be investigated because given the circumstances behind it, I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that we do have judges that are paid off in this country and bought off. And when decisions like this come down, to your point, the fact that they didn't look at the whole case and say, well, this is nonsense. Like let's look at this fact and, maybe make some criminal referrals here to the appropriate authorities. That is egregious. So I would say that the whole thing is suspect. We need real attention on this from, I think, the top down, because again, civil rights are about individual rights. And Ash, I think, is having her civil rights violated here because she's simply standing up and calling out the criminality and the wrongdoing of criminal actors who have infiltrated our government. And she is now being basically persecuted for that. It is insane. And if you want more people like Ash in this world and more people fighting for you and fighting for the people, then we need some support here. So I'm just going to come out and say it. I'll be the turd in the punch bowl. I don't care. I'll be the bad guy. I'm happy to be the bad guy.
Real quick, makes sense to me with a $5 rant. Says, just to clarify the Robinhood story, and feel free to correct me, an exchange cannot sell stocks they don't have. It is illegal. When they quote unquote ran out, they had to stop. If they ran out is the question. These were people trying to cash in. These were people trying to close their puts, or they're trying to sell their stocks back. Right?
You talking about you talking about Robinhood?
Robinhood, yeah.
Yeah. What happened was that when GameStop spiked, I watched this happen in real time. This was during COVID. They froze all trading, and they froze it, and then when they reopened it, basically a lot of the people who needed to get out had gotten out. The price crashed back down, and all the small guys who wanted to take gains from their investment, from their play, weren't able to. So that was a crime. What happened? The people who got screwed were the retail investors, the individuals who weren't able to sell their stock.
Robinhood basically didn't have the funds to cover it, and so they panicked and they froze it. And it's almost like a run on the banks, except it's like the same concept as a run on the banks. And if there is ever a run on the banks, watch how quick the banks are like, no, you can't withdraw your money. They'll do it right away. Wilson Chick, Brian, I emailed you. Please reply with Ash's fund for the court. I'm so effing pissed. Me too. Me too.
This is the part where we're like, we got to get pissed and be like, where the hell are the Patriots? Where the hell are the White Hats? Right? This is bullshit.
And just to be clear, Ash's original judge, right? Ash's original judge was very fair. I thought, well, not the original judge, the one that presided over the case.
Yeah.
I thought was pretty fair. And this was a Biden appointee, first LGBTQ female west of the Mississippi, you know, all the check marks boxes for a liberal leaning judge, right? And she 52'd the case and dismissed it at the turn, right? Said, we don't even need to hear your case. They didn't rise to the level that they needed to, dismissed it.
Which supports the point I made earlier that even like people who don't align with us politically can still be honorable, can still do the right thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's quickly talk about soft disclosure, and then we'll get into Geo. I apologize for that.
One hero, one mission to deliver softness to America.
No, Chi-Chi, we can't stop your snacks, dude. We have to deliver all of these soft disclosure gift cards.
He goes by Zach Kane.
The motion detector.
Hey, stop fighting over the beer brush.
Life finds a way.
Hydrate your elbows, moisturize your soul. Feel the rhythm together. You feel alive and let the lotion roll. Soft disclosure, hear the cry. Maximum softness, do or die.
Muffin, hit it.
All right, softdisclosure.com. Promo code Badlands. Moisturize your soul. Fantastic. Get some beard oil too.
Absolutely. Get the beard oil. You see, I got a little bit of the scruff coming in. The beard oil is fantastic. And the beard brush as well. So definitely get the beard oil. My kids, when I use it, definitely tell me how soft my beard is. And they hate when I have facial hair because they say it's too scratchy. So, yes, softdisclosure.com.
And so I pinned, again, if you're just joining, I saw some people in the chat, Maggie Bund. His case has been remanded back for a retrial. So if you guys want to support Ash, I pinned it up at the top, givesendgo.com/Ash in America, and help out there. Let's get into geopolitiks. All right, let's start. Oh, you want to start? Good.
I was going to say we should get Bannon on this. I think Bannon would be all over this. We need to get Bannon on the whole Ash thing. But yeah, I mean, this is we'll talk about all this offline. But yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into the geopolitics here, and we got a couple of stories that'll lead up to the NATO summit that's going on. Netanyahu warns U.S. should not sell F-35s to the Turkish regime infected by the Muslim Brotherhood. Netanyahu warned that if the U.S. gives Turkey F-35 fighter jets, it may upset the balance of power in the Middle East and threaten Israeli air superiority in the region. Quote, Turkey is a great country, but it's governed by a man who calls openly for the annihilation of Israel, Netanyahu said. He occupies half of Cyprus, a NATO country. He's threatened Greece, another NATO country, and he talks openly about conquering Jerusalem. He drew attention to the presence and influence of the Muslim Brotherhood terrorist group in Turkey. Ankar's leadership is, quote, a regime infected by the Muslim Brotherhood that hates America and chants death to America. Now, Ghost, I just want to play you. That's Netanyahu's assertion on Turkey, on Erdogan specifically. Here is Trump's assertions about Erdogan.
Well, I want to thank you very much. As everybody knows, it's been very much reported. We are great friends. The president has done an incredible job just landing at the airport, to see such a beautiful airport and to have a building named after me. I was very happy about that. That was very nice. The airport is absolutely beautiful. The roads coming in were brand new and beautiful. And you've been a great leader and a respected leader all over the world. And we really do. We've had right from the beginning good chemistry. We've had a very special relationship. Turkey has become, under the president, a very powerful country militarily. People don't know how powerful, actually. They have a lot of our equipment, and they have a lot of great soldiers, and they're really somebody to be reckoned with. And the nice part is that because of the relationship that we have, it's all gone very well. I just want to say that I have a lot of respect for the president, and I think it's really to the benefit of both countries. We're going to be talking today about trade. We're going to be talking about other things having to do with the military, lots of different things. Probably we'll mention Iran, where we have essentially decimated their military. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. And we're going to have some very good discussions. But we do a lot of trade with Turkey. We make great things and they make great things. And we've had it's had a very big impact on both of our countries. So I just want to tell you that it's an honor to be with you. And we're going to have a lot of good meetings. We're going to have.
All right, we can land that there. But yeah, that really sounds like, you want to play the contrast to that real quick, Ghost?
Which contrast?
This contrast right here of how Netanyahu has to talk about.
Yeah. Play this.
So you just heard Trump with the guy that Netanyahu said is disastrous. He wants to conquer everything. He's infected with the Muslim Brotherhood. He's a bad guy. Trump goes out there. He's like, we're really good friends. They're highly respected. We've been trading a lot. Very powerful country. Now this is how Netanyahu is talking about the relationship he has with Trump.
Oh, we see eye to eye just about everything. And sometimes, as happens among the best of allies, and we are the best of allies, there can be differences of opinion. We usually speak about it in open conversation. You can imagine the president has his way of expressing things, and so do I. But we are, we're allies. We're your model ally. And we respect the United States of America. And if you come to Israel, it is the one nation here in this region that is not only a democracy, but a democracy in which the overwhelming majority of the people unabashedly support the United States of America. So my relationship with the president is fine, and we have a way of ironing out our differences as allies who respect each other.
So what do you... This feels like an episode of like The Bachelorette where Trump is like choosing one or the two, and you have the one that's like clearly the favorite, and the other one that's just like, no, I'm actually the favorite. Like, ignore the fact that we fight all the time. Ignore the fact that he's called me a lunatic and, all these other things. Ignore the fact that, he just came out the other day, Barack Ravid, Netanyahu knows who the boss is. Like, ignore all that stuff. Ignore Trump. We talked before the show about the reception that Trump gave Erdogan versus Netanyahu at the White House, right? Erdogan gets the National Guard or the army, the military reception, all the flags and all that stuff. And Netanyahu gets Trump walking out, shaking his hand and going inside. And that was it. So you can draw your own conclusions as to where the relationship is headed.
Yeah. And if you want to share my screen, this is what Laura Loomer was boosting on X. For those who can't read it, she says, amazing interview with Netanyahu on Fox News just now. Israel's our greatest ally. Netanyahu, and then the next post, or the post before that, Netanyahu on Fox News just now. Israel, unlike some of America's allies, actually fights alongside the U.S. So true. These Islamic freaks who sent delegations to Khamenei's funeral are not our allies. And she tags Netanyahu in both of those posts. Obviously, she's Mossad media, in my opinion. But yeah.
When has Israel fought alongside of us?
Yeah, that's a great question, because they didn't send one soldier to the war on terror, Afghanistan or Iraq. And that should be absolutely noted. Okay. And so let's talk about Turkey. Turkey, 3 years ago, when you and I started doing this show together, almost 3 years ago, The three countries that I kind of identified as enigmas in the Middle East were Qatar, Iran, and Turkey. And Turkey, I think I've gotten my bearings on all three of those now. Turkey, for sure, it's very clear where they stand, as is Qatar. Turkey's an enigma for sure because they did support the Muslim Brotherhood during the Arab Spring in 2011. Erdogan did support what's his name, Morsi, who took over Egypt, right, as the Muslim Brotherhood insurgency. And then he was a counterinsurgency a few years later by al-Sisi, backed by, I think, white hats and our military. So it's very hard. It was a hard nut to crack, Turkey. But Trump is right when Trump says that Turkey is extremely important militarily. They have the largest military in the largest military in Europe because they're considered like a Eurasian country. They're like a partially Europe, partially Middle East country. They're an observing member of the EU. They're one of the original members of NATO, 1952, one of the early members of NATO. They have the largest army in Europe. They have the largest army in the Middle East. They have the second largest army in NATO behind the United States. And as Trump said, they have a lot of U.S. equipment. Trump has been an Erdogan guy since his first term. In 2019, he was talking about how Erdogan was a great friend and he loved Erdogan and that was his guy in the Middle East. And I went in deep on this last summer, looking into what all this meant. And the story is that we sold them the F-35s. They paid for the F-35s. They sent their pilots to the U.S., trained on the F-35s. They sent their pilots or their mechanics to the United States, trained on how to repair the F-35s. They are 100% ready to receive F-35s. And as far as I could tell, I don't obviously have confirmation on this, but it appears that we actually did deliver at some point in the past 8 years 2 F-35s actually were delivered to Turkey. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think that that's true. But somebody else would certainly know better than me. What happened was then Congress stepped in and blocked the transfer. So they've paid for the planes, but we have not given them the planes. Like we've basically taken their money and then said, you know what, we don't want to deliver. And the reason they did that is because of Erdogan's relationship with Putin, which then this was 2019. So then, COVID happens, that slowed the whole world down. And then the special military operation unfolds in Ukraine. And then it was just easy to be like, yeah, anyone who's aligned with Putin, we are not doing anything for you. So that is why Turkey has not received their F-35s, is because Putin had sent them some anti-air, some air defense arrays. And because of that, they were like, well, we're worried that, somehow Russia is going to get their hands on the F-35 documents. Never mind the fact that Hillary Clinton and others have been selling, SAPs to, whoever wanted to pay for them for years. And so that was the excuse. The excuse from the Republicans and the Democrats is we're not giving any F-35s or any military equipment to anybody who is friends with Putin. And Trump is saying, well, no, we are going to give them F-35s. He said that last September when Erdogan came and visited. He signed a nuclear agreement saying we're going to build you a nuclear reactor. Russia, Rosatom, is already building them that nuclear reactor, by the way. So they're going to get multiple nuclear reactors, one Russian and one American, at least one American, maybe multiple American ones. Trump is an Erdogan guy, Turkey guy. And the fact that the NATO summit is happening right now in Turkey, I think it's almost too perfect. It's like the World Cup happening on America's 250th birthday. I mean, in America, it is like you could not have scripted this any better if you are the script writer for this movie. So let's look at just a few quick clips. So here, if you want to share my screen, Bongino, of course, or I'm sorry, Bongino, Scavino has been posting about all these clips, flying over there on Air Force One. The NATO summit beginning again this morning. They're several hours ahead of us, so it's probably evening there by now. Certainly evening there by now. Erdogan arrives to Trump on the tarmac. Okay, so then we have here's Trump talking about, the only reason I showed up to this nonsense, to this summit, is because my buddy Erdogan is the one hosting.
Well, we're going to see. I was very disappointed with NATO, and frankly, if it weren't held in Turkey, where My friend happens to be a very strong leader, a very strong person. It's possible that I wouldn't have attended. I felt I had to attend because of the fact that, I know he's gone all out. It was a big thing to have NATO come to Turkey or any place else. It's a big thing. But we weren't treated well because we did something in Iran. We don't need anybody's help. I didn't even want their help. But before I asked, they said they wouldn't be there. And we've invested trillions of dollars in NATO. Why? To protect European countries and others, Canada, etc., but to protect people, countries from, generally speaking, it used to be the Soviet Union, now it's Russia. And I say that's fine, but you would think that they'd be very willing to do something to help us. And they really weren't. In the case of the United Kingdom, the Prime Minister, I guess he's no longer there.
Fantastic. Interesting choice of tie by Trump. You don't see him wearing like a black tie very often. It almost it looks like he's like attending a funeral.
Is it black or navy blue?
It's like, I can't tell if it's black or a dark navy blue. It definitely has some sort of like white dot, like very subtle dotted pattern. It looks black to me though. I mean, it looks like his suit looks black. He doesn't, I mean, he normally wears like a navy blue suit. It looks like he's wearing a black suit and a black tie. I could be wrong. It could be the lighting, but it does. This is like a funeral attire for him because he normally wears a very dark navy suit and then like a red tie or a blue tie or a yellow tie. He's going with it looks like a black suit and a black tie. It looks like he's attending a funeral. So then let's just hit a few other clips that I have.
About their
So here he's being asked about, Israel and the war in the Middle East.
relationship with Israel. They could have gotten into the fight. They're a very powerful military nation. They didn't do that. Maybe they didn't do that because of me, but they could have gotten into the fight on the other side. They are a nation that's been very, very good, and I can speak for myself as president. They've been extraordinary in many ways with respect to our relationship, including trying to end the war with Iran, or whatever you call it. It's not even a war, it's a military operation. It's a denuclearization. That's really what it is of Iran, because I don't think he wants to see them have a nuclear weapon either. I'm pretty sure of that. In fact, I'm totally sure of that. So, but when they buy a product from us, whether it's a plane or anything else, when it's time for maintenance, I think don't we have an obligation to help them? What do we do? Say we're not gonna let you use the product that you spent a lot of money in buying? And especially when it's been somebody that frankly has been more helpful to the United States than many other more traditional countries.
Mr. President, you will meet President Zelensky tomorrow, sir. You will meet President Zelensky tomorrow. Should we expect a breakthrough soon? Where are we at Ukraine talks?
I had a very good talk with President Putin, who, by the way, has a lot of respect for President Erdogan, a lot of respect for him. We had a long talk yesterday, it lasted a long time, and I also spoke with President Zelensky right after that. I think they both want to make a deal. It's too bad it took so long, but I think there's going to be something's going to come out, and the president's also helping us with that. But I think there's something. I settled 8 wars, and I think we're going to be settling a 9th. It doesn't seem likely now, but sometimes with war, I see when it's least likely, that's when it happens. I had a very good talk with President Putin. I had a very good talk with, I would say, as a combination. A lot of times I'd do well with Putin, and Zelensky would be a problem, or vice.
Okay. So anyway, that's that. Let me play this because I want to talk about NATO. I want to talk about Israel real quick, and then I want to talk about Maloney, who I'm going to get to eventually. Let's see. We have from that same interview that you just played. Here is Netanyahu on Fox News.
The other thing I'd like to say, because we're on the verge of the president's going to Turkey, look, Turkey is a great country, but it's governed by a man who calls openly for the annihilation of Israel. He occupies half of Cyprus, a NATO country. He's threatening Greece and other NATO countries. And he talks openly about conquering Jerusalem. His foreign minister, his number two, said that the Jewish state hasn't a place among humanity. Basically, it has to be wiped out. His interior minister, said he looks forward to be the governor of Jerusalem. Well, for a regime infected by the Muslim Brotherhood, an extreme movement that hates America and chants death to America from that side of the spectrum, I don't think they should be given F-35s or the engines for their fighter jets, because that'll upset the power balance in the Middle East, which is ultimately guaranteed by Israeli air superiority and also by, I think, by America's posture in the Middle East.
Okay, so the key country he's calling out there, the two key countries, Greece and Cyprus. Cyprus is basically like a former Greek colony. It's like traditionally Greek culture, but now the north part of the island is Turkish, is part of Turkey. That's from the Ottoman Empire, the days of the Ottoman Empire. But most of the island is Cyprus, its own country. Cyprus is one of those countries that is used for money laundering. It's like a Star Wars bar of bad guys. It's like where a lot of the criminals go to hide their money is in Cyprus. And they use the Cypriot banking system along with the Israeli banking system to launder a lot of that money. And this goes to, before I get to my point, I want to look at this post or this headline, which is Netanyahu saying this. As Iran attacks tankers, Netanyahu says Israel will ensure freedom of maritime trade. So something that a speculation I made a month ago was, and I have like a longer clip, but from my show on geopolitics, speculated that maybe we would see Greece attack Turkey on the like a naval attack and start. So like I was saying, if I was Netanyahu, I would form an alliance with Greece and Ukraine, like a trilateral alliance, and use Greece and Ukraine to attack Turkey, open up a new front in the war in the Mediterranean, a naval front, because I don't think the IDF can afford another ground war. And that would bring Europe in against Turkey, Europe in against the Middle East. And also it would kind of sidestep the whole Article 5 NATO thing. I mean, if Israel attacks Turkey, that is Israel attacking NATO. Greece is in NATO. So I think that muddies that Article 5 issue a little bit. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it certainly seems to be
afforded.
That was a Hail Mary kind of prediction. I was like, I think it's kind of late in the game for this to happen. I don't know if it's actually going to happen. But again, if I was strategizing for Netanyahu, I'd be like, hey, let's call in every favor we have with Greece, who is a historic ally going back like 1,000 years of Turkey and the Ottoman Empire. Let's get Greece to attack, to at least send their ships to harass the Turkish Navy, and let's start causing some problems there. I don't know if we'll see it happen, but perhaps. So let's now look at this headline's also really funny. Netanyahu rejects J.D. Vance's claim that Trump is Israel's only friend, says many seek ties. And the example he said, he goes, we have a lot of support online from Indians. Like we have Indian call centers, the guys with the 100 cell phones are sitting there being like, we love Netanyahu. Yeah. All right. So real quick, because I know we're trying to wrap up here. Let's hit Maloney. So Maloney, there is like this, I would describe it as kayfabe happening with Maloney. Trump posted, let me pull up the screenshot. Trump posted and I suggest everyone go and read today's news brief. I put 3 takes in there and hit a lot of different angles of this. So Trump posted this the other day: restraining order needed against Maloney, and he posted this hilarious picture of Giorgia Maloney looking at him. And this builds on the thing he did last month, where he said that Maloney at the G7 was begging him for a selfie, and he was like, I'm not giving you a selfie. You didn't send me any ships to the Strait of Hormuz. He's doing her a huge favor here, and let me explain why. First of all, I pulled up this Q post. I don't reference Q posts very often because I think that the whole decoder culture is kind of cringe, but this one is relevant. Somebody asked if Salvini is a patriot. Salvini is referring to Matteo Salvini, who is her deputy prime minister. And Q responds, Italy is with POTUS. So firmly, that just reinforces what I've long believed, is that Italy is definitely with POTUS. Meloni is about to become, about 2 months ago, her government became the second longest serving government in modern Italian history, post-World War II Italian history. Come September 4th, she will be the longest serving government in Italian history. It's because Italy has a very destabilized, unstable political system. Basically, their governments last about a year or two before they collapse, and then they hold a new election. So nothing gets done that is beneficial to the people. It's very difficult to actually do things, put measures in place to help the Italian people or to exercise sovereignty. They're basically vassals of the EU, NATO, and the UN. So she tried to do two things this year. She tried to do this thing called the Nordia reforms in March, where she's trying to reform the judiciary, because there's some weird relationship between the judges and the prosecutors where that's considered the same career track. She wants to separate those two things. She wants to put a new system of accountability for judges when they engage in misconduct. There was apparently a bunch of high-profile scandals of these prosecutors being appointed and their relationship with the judges, and then like basically cutting deals against the people who are being prosecuted. So she's trying to clean that up. That measure failed in March. That's the first time she has failed at doing anything as prime minister in Italy, like achieving a policy objective. She has widespread support among the people and like the different political parties, but she needs more support at the higher levels, like the political elites. That's what I think Trump is doing for her right now. The other thing she's been trying to do is this thing called premierato, which is a constitutional reform that would create a new, that would basically strengthen the prime minister's office. Right now, the prime minister in Italy, like many other parliamentary systems, is appointed by the president. The president is elected by the parliament, right? So you hold an election, you vote for political parties. The political party with the most seats elects a president. The president then appoints the prime minister. That's how she comes into office. Her new system that she wants to pass, the voters would elect the prime minister, and the prime minister would serve a 5-year term. So that would then give the prime minister power over, like the president would become more of a figurehead. The prime minister, it would give them stability, because they've never had a government that's lasted 5 years since World War II. And it would allow for continuity, where they could actually build up momentum and a populist sovereign agenda. And so I think what Trump has done here is he has basically villainized himself against with the Italian people. Here's an article from 5 days ago, where this is the AP. U.S. President Donald Trump's attacks on Italy's premier have had an unintended consequence. After Trump questioned Italy's reliability as a wartime ally and claimed Giorgia Meloni had groveled for his attention, European leaders rallied to Meloni's side, thawing what had been a frosty relationship over her hard-right political roots. And the latest example of how the often divisive American president is helping to draw Europe closer together. There's another article from a local Roman newspaper that I have that describes how the same thing is happening inside of Italy. All of these political elites who viewed Meloni as like this hard right winger, like crazy person, is now rallying around her because they view her as Trump's enemy and they don't like Trump. So they're like, well, if Trump has identified her as an enemy the same way he identified Joe Biden in 2020 as the guy he doesn't want to run against, we got to rally around Meloni. I think he's giving her like clout now so she can get her agenda passed, which is going to long term support the Italian nationalist movement. And this isn't being done for the benefit, for the sake of optics for the American people or the Italian people. I think this is being done to draw political support at the highest levels inside of Italy around Meloni. This is, we're getting very technical in the geopolitics here, but look at what she's done recently. This is from 4 days ago. Turkey's Erdogan, Italy's Meloni discuss bilateral ties, regional issues by phone. And then this is from over a year ago, April 2025, Italy, Turkey to strengthen defense cooperation, boost trade. What she has done over the past year and a half is she has used all of her clout in Europe to push Europe towards Turkey and NATO, and basically make Turkey more of like the leader in NATO rather than France or Britain, because Turkey is the one with all the military power. So she's actually advancing, in my opinion, Putin and Trump and the Sovereign Alliance's agenda inside of NATO, inside of the EU, inside of Italy. But in order for her to be successful, Trump has to basically create a Hegelian dialectic with her where he identifies her as an enemy, so that she then gets the support of people whose support she needs in order to dismantle this existing system. And then the last thing I want to point out, and I know because I know we're trying to wrap up, I encourage everyone to come listen to the show this afternoon. What is happening right now in Colombia is absolutely amazing. Gustavo Petro, the Colombian president, they had an election weeks back. This guy, Espriella, we've been talking about him. He's the lawyer of the former lawyer for what's his name? Alex Saab. Couldn't really wrap our head around what he was, because you have all the neocons and the Zionists supporting him. Gustavo Petro came out, and this is a long post. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll summarize it. He says that the very first sentence, we have all the information about how from an IP server located in Los Angeles, California, owned by the Batista brothers, integrated into the scrutiny operation, algorithms were used to substantially vary the vote in favor of Abelardo, in favor of Espriella. So he's saying that a server in California altered the vote count and basically rigged the election in Colombia in favor of this guy who was not the guy that Petro supported. Lower in the post, he says, from my phone conversation with Trump, I was able to confirm that he didn't know I didn't support De La Espriella because of his old ties to drug trafficking and the genocide in Colombia. I hope that amid his concerns, he has time to call his intelligence agencies so they can tell him who Abelardo De La Espriella is and why he is a U.S. citizen and who his partners are, including alias Boliche. So basically, he's accusing this guy of being, I think, an intelligence operative, part of the cartels, and part of basically the insurgency against the Colombian people. He also calls out, and later in post following this, he says that specifically it was Mossad that was doing this, that was manipulating the vote counts. Here's Abelardo's victory was achieved with algorithms from California, and the algorithms were made by private intelligence companies from Israel. He also made this post where he says immediate extradition ordered in the case of alias Chiquito Malo, bad hombre, responsible for the organized armed group Clan del Golfo. The Gulf Clan is the largest cocaine cartel operating in Colombia right now. These are the people that Petro has been at war with for the past 4 years. It's the group that he went and met. He sent delegates to meet with in Qatar last year to negotiate their surrender, right? That hasn't been finalized yet. He says, whoever still dreams of prosecuting me for drug trafficking in the U.S. will have to go to great lengths in slander, because if the drug trade in Colombia has any enemy, it's me. I stripped them of political power they had, and now, life's paradox, with political support from the U.S. government and through the fraud they orchestrated with Netanyahu's help, they want to return to power. He is openly accusing Benjamin Netanyahu of supporting the Gulf Clan, the largest cocaine cartel in Colombia, of restoring their power, bringing them back into office with bad elements in the U.S. government, the deep state. And let's just put a little bow on all of this. 50 minutes, exactly 50 minutes, 50, before he made that first post where he said the server is in Los Angeles. We know, we have the IP address. We have everything. He's naming names. He's naming organizations. He's giving very specifics. He's posting screenshots, videos. I mean, he's like, we have everything to prosecute these people, and I've given everything to Trump. Trump posted this on his Truth Social. It is like the restoration or the cleaning of and the polishing of the statue of Simon Bolivar. Simon Bolivar is the George Washington of northern South America. If like all the countries northern South America, this would be Venezuela, Colombia, Bolivia, all of them look at this guy as the leader of the independence movement. You will hear Maduro and Petro talk about this guy all the time. All the time they talk about Simon Bolivar. He was only 16 when George Washington died. But one of George Washington's, I mean, the official story is that George Washington sent him this medallion that had a lock of his hair in it. Most likely, looking into it, it was probably one of his confidants, like one of his assistants after he died, because the revolution didn't begin until like 7 years later. But basically, his entire life, Bolivar carried this lock of George Washington's hair because he considered him like the greatest man of all time, the greatest military leader of all time. And he modeled himself after George Washington. I think this is, like, you talk about comms, you talk about like signal. This is Trump saying we support the Bolivar movement, which both Maduro and Petro like consider themselves like the reincarnation or like the continuation, the spiritual successor of Simon Bolivar. And this is Trump, I think, being like, we're with you. This is right before Petro goes off on this long like posting rant of posting all the evidence of the election integrity stuff in Colombia. And I think everyone's been looking at Venezuela, Venezuela is where the election integrity stuff is happening. It's happening right now in Colombia. Colombia, I think, might be the thing, the straw that breaks the dam wide open. And Petro's the one leading the charge. He's openly saying Espriella is an illegitimate president. We do not recognize him. This other guy, Cepeda, is the legitimate president. He is the president of Colombia. And he's encouraging everyone to get out into the streets and have peaceful protests and demand that Cepeda be installed as president. This is going to become like the big thing. And this could lead to like election integrity, open election integrity discussions in the United States. He's talked about how he's discussed this with Trump. He says Trump understands now. He said Trump didn't know before. He didn't know that I didn't support Espriella. He was shocked when I told him that. That's what he posted. He was shocked when I told him that. You don't support Espriella? I thought he was a good guy. Trump knows. Trump is bringing, I think this is all just bringing attention to this stuff. But the fact that this statue was restored in Washington, D.C., and then Trump posted about it minutes before Petro goes on this big tangent. We're going to go deep on this on my show later today. And all of this is connected to NATO. All of this is connected to Italy. It's all connected to the Middle East. And obviously it's connected to Israel because Petro himself says that Netanyahu specifically is behind this effort to steal the election from Petro's successor, give it to this other guy who he says is going to bring the cartel back into power and give the cocaine cartels control of the government.
Well, interestingly enough, Ghost, I can expound upon the Israeli and Italian ties there. And no, it's not satellites; it's the machines themselves. But we'll talk. I don't want to say it on the show until I hash everything out with you about this. But U.S. elections and there's similarities that can be drawn here. So yeah, I would definitely tune into Geopolitics with Ghost this afternoon. Get some more on that, and then maybe the next time we speak on Daily, we'll be able to expand on that.
Yeah. Petro is a badass. I mean, he's a boss. That guy is. He might overtake Kim Jong-un as my favorite geopolitical character. MBS, of course, has like the honorary designation, but man, Gustavo Petro is definitely in the top 3 of the power rankings for Sovereign Alliance leader. By the way, hopefully you and I are going to be able to do the Book of Trump on Monday to do the 1980s, the Atlantic City Trump casino era. So
Trump, the whistleblower, the informant, the rat, whatever you want to call it. Definitely not a rat. All right, let's hit one more sponsor here before we get into towards the end of the show. And there we go. I want to share a quick story about a family supporting this channel. Their father had a rare form of cognitive decline due to his military service that made him unable to work. Their mother had to stop working too so that she could care for him. Their sons discovered new U.S. Library of Medicine studies on various mushroom blends that could significantly support cognitive function. So they began creating complex mushroom supplements based on that research, not just to help their own family, but to help others. They nearly quit after multiple setbacks, including having their first big batch stolen. Fast forward, now they speak at medical conventions nationwide. Their company is called Emerald Med, and their product massively supports brain, immune, blood, and heart function. Your cognitive function optimizes everything you do. You can get your knees, heart, and kidneys replaced, but you cannot get a new brain. So investing in the only brain that you'll have for the rest of your life matters. If you want to support a company that supports our channel with free speech, with their marketing dollars, and you want to try a strong mushroom supplement, they have a deal for America's 250th. Just click the link below and use the code for 30% off today. It's currently the most concentrated mushroom gummy in the U.S., has up to 40 compounds, and is rich in vitamins and minerals with 6 formulas in one. It's like getting 6 supplements for the price of one. You can click the link below to try Emerald Med's mushroom gummies for 30% off today. And these are not psychedelic mushrooms, guys. These are the kinds, the natural kinds that just, you're not going to feel any of that crazy stuff. But EmeraldNet is a fantastic company, man. I take their Elohetrium, some of their CBD products. Absolutely fantastic company. 10 out of 10 recommend. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into rants, and that'll wrap up the show for today. I'm going to try and do the prelim hearings for the Charlie Kirk preliminary, the Tyler Robinson, Charlie Kirk preliminary hearings, because I want to watch it, and so why not watch it together? Harold Patriot, this is from today. Good morning, guys. I appreciate you guys and really enjoyed GART panels. Thank you for your work. Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yep. Appreciate the Bitcoin.
We read Makes Sense to Me about Robinhood, and we read Wilson's Chick as well about Ash's Gifts and Go. By the way, that's pinned. giftsandgo.com/Ash in America. If you want to help her, her case has been remanded back by the appellate court. 10th Circuit says you got to do a retrial, which is absolute utter nonsense. And Ash is going to go in there and whoop ass. I know it. Yep. So if you guys
she will, but she shouldn't have to be alone. Where are the patriots? Where are the white hats who want election integrity to happen? Now's the moment. It's now or never, guys. It's like the British are coming to take the guns. It's now or never. We're meeting at the bridge, at Lexington and Concord. You either show up or, the whole thing's a failure.
Yep. Bread Hour, in theory, if it happened, which would have been worse, the World War II Holocaust of Jews or the Holocaust of millions of Ayatollah funeral attendees, as fantasized by Loomer. In theory.
Yeah, Loomer's been she's
fully retarded.
She's lost her mind. Her and Levin were talking about bombing Khomeini's funeral, like hundreds of thousands of people there in attendance. Thousands of world leaders there, like world diplomats there. The Saudis showed up. The Saudis were not on formally. Yeah, they're the Saudis right there. The Saudis were not supposed to go. There was no formal invitation extended or acceptance. Or I'm sure they got invited, but they didn't say they were going to go. They just showed up. Nobody knew they were even coming. And that's a big deal because them and Iran have been historic enemies since 1979, and even going back further than that. But that's a really big deal. The fact that they showed up to Khomeini's funeral. But yeah, Laura Loomer and Mark Levin were like, man, it'd be great if we just killed all these people right here, like all these civilians. Let's just kill them all. Because then
we had the Pakistani prime minister there. Let's see, we had leaders from Qatar,
Russia,
Oman.
Medvedev was there. You had a lot of different people there, and never mind the fallout from that. But if we kill all these people, then we can get a political or ideological or maybe a religious change in Iran. Remind me, what is the textbook definition of terrorism? Oh, that's right. Committing acts of violence in hoping to enact a political, religious, or ideological change.
Yep.
Okay. So like a lot of projection there from the Mossad media when they talk about Iran and what Iran is.
Yep. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up for Badlands Daily today. Like I said, I'll be live streaming the prelim hearing. Ghost will have geopolitics with Ghost this afternoon at 2 p.m. Ghost?
Yes. Yep. 2 p.m. Yep.
You got Daily Herald coming up here at 1 p.m. You got Why We Vote tonight at 9 p.m. A lot of shows. Stay tuned here at Badlands Media, and we will see you guys later. And I don't know what this outro is, but it's there, and I like it, so it's our new outro for today.